Hey everyone, welcome back to the Legend of Billy Shears, a hidden revolution. Thanks for joining me, and remember to like and share. Remember, the Legend of Billy Shears videos are directed towards an intermediate to advanced audience in the Beatles and Paul is Dead conspiracies. If you are a beginner, you may not feel comfortable with the material being presented. For this video, you will need to understand that biological Paul McCartney died in 1966 and was replaced by a person who I call Billy Shears. Before we begin, I want to say just a few words about my research and this channel. The material that is currently being presented is based on research that I have conducted over the last several years. Some of my material has been presented previously on other channels or other platforms and has been brought forward to the Legend of Billy Shears channel and edited. This is an attempt to present my findings in a slightly more summarized style. It is my goal to keep the tone on this channel basically lighthearted and in a way fun, as researching Billy is a hobby, but in no way some kind of life goal to prove anything about him. One of the most common questions that I am asked is, do I like Billy? The answer is yes, I do like him very much. There are a lot of people, and I may have been a little bit like this when I first started researching, who think Billy is a criminal and should be led away in handcuffs. After years of research, I do not agree. He made a choice to play the role of Paul. This is true, and this video will dive a little deeper into the reasons why he may have made that choice. However, I do not think that Billy Shears ever really had a choice to walk away from any of this. Not just because of money and assets, it goes much deeper than all that. To protect himself as well as others around him, it is imperative that he stay in character. He is not the only one we see on a stage playing a part. There are others. I think Billy is an incredibly gifted musician, and his skills in business, management, and other endeavors have improved along the way. He has a job to do, and he does it very well. While my findings sometimes seem sensational, I just want to share them and have never been overly concerned about likes, shares, or how many subscribers I have. Since these are my ideas and conclusions, it only makes sense to make my own channel and share them with other researchers. I make no money doing this, even though the equipment and subscriptions do require a small investment and the video production is time intensive. So let's move on and get to today's video. I hope you will enjoy the presentation. Previously on the Legend of Billy Shears, we explored Miss Pat and how my findings may show that she is the biological mother of Billy Shears. Also, that Billy Shears may have been the product of a relationship and ritual that she had with Aleister Crowley. If you have not watched those videos, I do encourage you to do so, as they lay a foundation for the information that will be showcased today. Let's circle back to Miss Pat and see if we can find anything out about her other children in addition to Billy Shears.
According to the Ancestry site, she had two, and they were both boys, Ataturk and Michael Kahn. So let's see if we can figure out anything else about Ataturk and Michael Kahn. So what do we know about Michael Kahn based on the things that we can find out on the internet, the different writings and different things? Number one, he was born in 1942. Number two, he was present with her when she visited Aleister Crowley when he was dying in 1947. And then we have this excerpt here where it talks about him being somehow Aleister Crowley thought this child was special. I think that was probably based on an astrology chart or something like that. But in the end, he died in a car wreck. You know, it's limited information, but it is information. And his name was Michael. So looks like we might be on the right track. Let's keep going. And of course, I went back to the art and looked at it because that's what I always do. And I found a painting by Caroline Gotch that was very interesting. It has a little baby and another child, and I started wondering, I had always just assumed Bill was the Bill Ataturk was the oldest of her children because she had him kind of young, but maybe not. Maybe she had one before him. So let's keep looking. Looking at another painting here. This one's by Ithel Coquin. This was Pat's best friend. And notice there's 4 children in the painting, 2 girls and possibly 2 boys, hard to tell. One is an infant in her arms. Notice that she does have a head covering on. And notice that the boats in the painting look a little bit like coffins. That was just kind of strange, but I just wanted to point it out. And once again, I have a close-up of the painting by Caroline Gotch, of who I believe is her granddaughter, Pat, or Deirdre. And she does have long red hair. And notice this painting, she also has a head covering. So I put her side by side with the photo that we know is our girl Pat. And they do appear to me to be the same person. So you had to know I was going to do this because I love side-by-side photos so much. Keep in mind that Bill in this photo has had surgery on his chin as well as his nose. And despite the surgery, I think these two look like they could be related. I think they do look like mother and son. Since Pat had a baby in 1942 and Paul McCartney was born in 1942, and he looked so much like Billy and they sound so much alike, I thought, let's put this picture in here and see what happens. Now, the reason I thought to do this originally was my aunt and I were just driving down the road one day. She was a music teacher, married to a band teacher, and she was talking about voices blending. And she was telling me how, it's different when you have sisters or brothers. Their voices are, similar in quality to each other. And I thought to myself, well, wonder if that could explain why Paul McCartney and Billy Shears sound so much alike when they sing. And, they also look like our girl Pat. So this is very interesting, but we have some things that we're going to have to figure out. How could this have happened? So let's keep going. So one of the problems was, what about Mike McGear? I threw his picture up here next to her anyway, and I didn't expect to think that these two people looked alike, but I do. I think that's where his nose came from. I'm sorry. I think these people look alike. I think this could be his mother. And, wow, the plot thickens.
AI generally agrees with this theory. The woman in the center may be older and could plausibly be their mother or another close relative.
So if Pat were Billy's mother and she was Paul's mother, also known as Michael, who is Mike's mom? Well, first of all, look at his name, Michael McGear. We know where the Michael came from, and we know where the McGear came from because Gier translated is gear. So when you look at Billy and you look at Mike, there is a little bit of a family resemblance there. So let's keep going. Okay, now the biggest problem of them all with that idea, with Pat being the mother, is obviously Jim and Mary McCartney. Now, I do believe in this picture that baby is Paul, and I have seen another picture like it, and the hair crowns around his head like Paul's did, his really thin legs like Paul had. But let's look a little bit more at the picture also. Mary looks mighty fine for having just given birth, but different day, different time. Some women are different. Maybe she was able to do that. She was about 32 or 33 years old when she would have had him if she's the biological mother. Her birth date, I think it was September the 29th, 9/11. Her death date was Halloween. She was Irish, and if you know anything about Halloween, that's where it came from, was Ireland. And good Irish Catholic girls do not go out on Halloween, yet she scheduled a surgery that day that, ended her life. So I don't mean to be mean. All those things could have happened. She could be a real person. She could not be an actor. She could have really died of breast cancer, and I would feel really bad. But I'm just saying, based on the other evidence, it doesn't really look like Mary McCartney is his bio mother. Now, as far as the father, I still, and Wendy thinks also, that Jim McCartney could be bio Paul's father, could really be his father, that maybe Pat somehow met up with him and had these last two babies. And then let's go back to the Deirdre story. What happened to her children? She fostered them. She gave them to someone else to raise. And also, one of the other things I just wanted to mention was that in the programming, in the SRA programming, one of the top things that they tell you when you have the death of a parent early, as Mary McCartney died when Paul was 14, I think, that is one of the traumas that they can really work with when they're programming people. So I kind of have a theory here that maybe Mary McCartney is an actor, stepped in and, mothered these children. And then maybe Jim McCartney really was the dad, not sure. But she stepped in and mothered these children. Perhaps Pat did have some kind of visitation or something with them, because she had them at Netherwood, I believe. So anyway, you have to remember it was wartime. It was rare to even have children in Liverpool in wartime. They were all sent to the countryside. They were sent to other countries. It was a dangerous place to be for little babies. Now, where was Pat during World War II? Well, she was a cipher officer. So I sat here for a minute and thought, how could she do all these things? How could she be having babies and be a cipher officer and have her mom in Egypt, her elderly mother, and then she had all these kids? Well, that kind of explains it too. She may have needed help financially and physically to take care of all of these children. And so she fosters them out to the McCartneys, with Jim possibly being the dad. And that's about the only way I can explain it. Now, this is a newer picture of Mary Patricia McCartney, that was on a Mother's Day post from Paul McCartney a few days ago. And I just want to mention that she should have been pregnant during this picture. But once again, I don't want to overjudge. Some people can be pretty pregnant before they look it. But she should have been pregnant with Michael in this picture. These are just extra pictures to show that I do believe that Mike and Bio Paul are really brothers. And this is James McAlpine. This is supposed to be Bio Paul McCartney's dad, but he did die in April of 1941, so I do not think he is Bio Paul's dad. Bio Paul and Jim McCartney do look a lot alike. Their basic face structure, the cheeks, the chin, the eyebrows, they really do look a lot alike, which would mean that Pat would have had to hooked up with Jim McCartney. But she was known for dating older men. It was World War II, and there probably weren't a lot of prospects her own age around at that time. But I do believe Bio Paul has Pat's eyes. So if it is true that Pat hooked up with Mr. McCartney, How did that happen? Could it have been through her mother, who was a nightclub singer, knowing Mr. McCartney from the nightclubs? Or could it have been through her grandmother, Caroline, who she cared for when she was elderly, and Caroline was from Liverpool? I'm not really sure. Those are just two guesses. Now, the story of Jim and Mary McCartney began in a bomb shelter in 1941, where they met and shortly married thereafter. However, as you can see, I have found that Jim McCartney's sister was married to a Danner in 1925. Now, Danner was Mary Moen McCartney's mother's maiden name. So it looks like in this picture that Jim was acquainted with the Danner family, with Mary McCartney's family, as early as 1925. And this is a picture of Bio Paul with his cousin Elizabeth. I understand it to be Jim McCartney's sister, who is married to the Danner, her daughter. And Danner is also the name of Mary McCartney's mother, her maiden name, and they are double cousins. And this is one of the other reasons I question if Mary McCartney was an actor instead of a real person. To this day, she still does not have a headstone. No one in her family or the McCartney family or anybody else's family put a headstone there. And she's supposed to be the mother of one of the richest people in the world. Now, her family, the Danner family, her mother's maiden name, the Danners, they do have a blog out there, and it talks about the Beatles. They don't really seem to like Bill too much, but other than saying that, there really aren't any stories on there, few if any. I didn't really think I found anything unique that doesn't just go along with the mainstream story about Mary. I mean, there's no firsthand accounts of a funny story about her or anything like that. Just stories that if you read about the Beatles, you could have found that out anyway on the internet. Now, I just really wanted to mention here that there are ley lines that go directly through Cornwall, and at least one of them is named Michael ley line. And then we also have the famous Michael's Mount in Cornwall. I think all of these things were probably inspirations for the name Michael. The name Con probably comes back from the Deirdre story. There were characters in it that had their names had Con as the base word in them. Let me put it that way. But anyway, that's where I think the Michael came from.
Yet one more example of a possible inspiration for the name Michael from Miss Pat's native Cornwall.
And this is just a lineup of photos of Pat. From the left, Pat when she met the Queen, possibly Pat in a painting, Pat 2 times in the Pies of Peace video, Pat from a Dance Tonight video, Pat from an internet photo, and Pat from a television interview where she was talking about being Ataturk's mother. And this is just kind of a wrap-up contemplation photo here. I wanted to show how Pat looks like Bill, but so does Aleister Crowley. And she also looks like Bio Paul and Mike McGear. And after thinking about how Bill had so many relatives possibly working around him all these years, I kind of wondered about Viv. I haven't watched most of the big Viv videos, I'll admit it, but he is intriguing. But what if Aleister Crowley's son, Ian Borton, in 1932 were Viv, and that is the reason that he looks so much like Billy Shears. just an idea. It's just a what if. I don't have anything to back that up with or anything. The dates don't even necessarily line up. But it could be. You never know. What if? So I wanted to take a moment in closing to examine, this is a pretty big idea I've put out there, that Billy Shears, the person we know as Paul McCartney, is actually half brothers with biological Paul McCartney, or as we may have figured out, Michael Kahn. So what does that mean? I was thinking about that for a while, and I thought, well, that would explain why they look alike. It would explain why they sound alike. It might explain why nobody really got in a fight over the money or assets that he had. It might explain Jane Asher a little bit better. And I just think that, a lot of those unanswered questions that we just couldn't quite accept the answers we were given to might be answered if you consider this. What if they were brothers? What if they were brothers? Could be.